Hi folks, this is Travis here again at Set Apart Homestead. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing and keep coming back for more torture of listening to me. Before I get started, I wanted to promote another channel. I'd meant to a while back and kind of forgot about it. And then I was watching one of their videos the other day and I was like, man, I never did say anything about them. They're a relatively new channel and it's one of those ones that they should have way more viewers than they have because they put out some really great content. I mean, there's channels out there that have, hundreds, millions of subscribers and they put out good content, but then there's some that just have a couple hundred. They have more than that, but it's this channel called Prepping in Progress. They're located here in the Ozarks, and it's a husband and wife team, and they put out some really good content. So get over there on their channel. It's, again, Prepping in Progress. You can type it in the little YouTube search engine and find it. And they put out some, great information, great videos on, bug out bags, prepper pantries, food storage, different gear, all kinds of stuff. Really good content. So I encourage you guys to go give them a watch. Now, yeah, you see this old junker, which is what a lot of people would see behind me. So I wanted to talk about bug out vehicles, or just a vehicle that's going to be, your SHTF vehicle. You may not necessarily bug out. I know that's just kind of a term. It may not be that you're actually bugging out. It just may be a vehicle that you're using or plan to use as your primary vehicle when, poo-poo hits the fan. So this is my recent purchase, and I haven't done anything to it over time as I get the money, and I'm not one of those, you can watch videos out there of these guys that, spend, tens of thousands of dollars on their vehicle and stuff, and that's cool. Man, I've watched them, and, you can dream about it. I don't have that kind of money, so I just do it a little at a time as I get a, few extra coins in my pocket. And that's what's going to happen with this thing here. And, I'm not saying that this is the best bug out vehicle or the best SHTF vehicle. It's more of concepts that you could use for other vehicles. This is the one that I've chosen for a few reasons, mostly because I found a really good deal on it, which I'll tell you about that. But there's also other reasons that I was specifically looking for that type of vehicle, make and model. This is a 1997 Chevy Suburban, 3/4 ton, 4-wheel drive pickup. This was, I'm not sure exactly, but it was used in like some type of utility vehicle, maybe a phone company, railroad. Usually they're painted yellow, but it could have been a phone company or a utility company or something like that vehicle. So what that means is that it's, mechanically it's all heavy duty, but when it comes to like extras and the convenient comfort items, it has really none. Vinyl seats, plastic vinyl floor, crank windshields, crank side windows, just extremely basics when it comes to that. It does have heat and air, but I wanted it because there's less to break down, less gadget stuff, and they're typically heavier duty. Now, I know that this isn't necessarily old enough still to be EMP proof, but it could be made that way, and this is going to be able to make it run a lot easier than a newer vehicle. But the point behind all this is what you're looking for. What are some of the things to look for? And this is for those people that are like me, that don't have the money to just go out there and buy. Now, the things that I'm going to be telling you are my opinions only. These are just the things that I've thought through, kind of how my thinking works. They may not be correct. They may not be correct for you. But I'm just letting you know kind of how I come about my thinking. So I'm wanting something that's older, because the newer vehicles have just far too many electronics, too much computer components. not just from an EMP perspective, but for the fact that you know, those parts are going to break down. Maybe these newer engines and transmissions are lasting longer, but those computer parts are going to fail, have a higher chance of failing, especially under extreme conditions or abusive use. Secondly, which that brings me to the next point, newer vehicles just are not as tough as older vehicles. Even though this isn't an extremely old vehicle, it's certainly old enough where they were still making them pretty tough. If you went and bought you a new Chevy Suburban, it's not made like this thing is. This is a very tough vehicle. It can take a lot of abuse. Honestly, I was looking for one a little bit older, but I found a really good deal on this one, and it's in really good shape, so I figured why not. But it's still in that age, pretty much, in my opinion, when it comes to Chevy Suburbans, at least. Anything 1999 and older are pretty good. When you get into the newer ones from 2000 on up to now, they're more modern and not quite as heavy duty. This one, like I said, it's 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive. It has the 350 Vortec in it, but it has the heavy duty transmission in it. And there's no rust on it. There's a, let me point it out, you can see, this is hard to do looking in the, in the viewfinder because it's backwards. There's a dent right there. That's the only damage on the whole vehicle, is that little dent right there, which personally I don't care. It can just stay there. But there's no rust on it. The underside of it is not rust. It's been taken very well care of for, you know, the age and everything. So I paid $750 for it, and yes, it is running. It needs a windshield, and had to put a battery in it, and I think the starter's probably needing replaced. It's done it twice now on me where the starter will kind of catch, so I'm probably going to replace that. And I'll, you know, little by little, I'll be replacing a lot of things on it, just to know that it's, you know, new and going to last me a while. So the thinking behind a vehicle like this, whether it's for bug out, which, to use that term in the literal sense, would be you need to leave the location that you're at, whether it's home, work, wherever it is, and go to a alternative location. Now, there's no point in really bugging out if you don't have plans ahead of time of where to go. That may be land that you own or just another location. The other thought behind a vehicle is just having something when SHTF happens. You know, assuming that it's not an EMP, and yes, eventually things like fuel are going to run out on a long-term down situation, but still having a vehicle that's heavy-duty enough while you have fuel to get around in. And out in these parts, also, where we live, you also need a heavy-duty vehicle. You know, our road leading up to our house, especially in the wintertime and in the springtime when it's raining a lot, you almost have to have it in four-wheel drive just to get down our road. Not our driveway, but the road actually leading to our property. So it's pretty rugged out here, and a lot of these roads out in the Ozarks are like that. You know, you can do a lot of things to a vehicle like this to make it super custom. There's tons of room. If you've never had a Suburban, man, you can, you know, the back of them, if you remove all the seats, and this has 3 bench seats in it, so it can hold 9 people. Excuse me. You remove the back 2 bench seats, and you've pretty much got a pickup bed with a cab over it when it comes to size. Basically, for those of you that are thinking about something like this, many of you probably similar to myself. You know, you just don't have the money to just go out there and buy the latest, greatest, coolest, fastest, you know, most awesome thing. Vehicles like this can still be found. I got a really, really good deal on this one. But you can still find vehicles like this, you know, for $1,000, $1,500. At least in my area, and I know in several other areas. Now, some of you may live in areas that vehicles just have a higher, you know, resale value. But these vehicles can still be had. I would suggest if you don't know how to do your own mechanic work, you need to start learning at least some things, at least some basic things, repair, because it saves you a lot of money, and the older you get on these vehicles, the easier it actually is to work on them. You know, newer vehicles are just a pain to work on, but you know, once you get in this age and then you keep going back further back in age, they become easier and easier to work on. And so you've got that. Now, here's another thing that I think of. Let's say that I have this vehicle and SHTF has happened, and I've got enough fuel supply to last me for a while, but I need to make a repair. You can't just go down to your local auto parts store. Some vehicles are a lot more common than others, and it's a lot easier to get parts for them. And it may not even be in an SHTF situation. Just from a homesteading perspective, maybe I want to stock up on some parts to replace on this type of vehicle. This vehicle, Chevy trucks, especially this body style that's behind me, are one of the most commonly made vehicles that have been made in the United States in the last 4 or 5 decades. They're everywhere. They're really popular around here. The trucks and the Suburbans are very popular. Most of the parts on the trucks are interchangeable with the Suburbans, you know, other than like interiors and obviously that part of the body. It's not a pickup bed. But your mechanical parts are all pretty much the same. So you've got a vehicle that you can easily find parts for. This has a Chevy 350 in it. Extremely common vehicle, extremely common motor. So it's very easy. You know, I can go around to any salvage yard around here and I can find parts for this vehicle. So that's a factor to think of, is how easy it is to find parts for. How expensive are those parts? For a vehicle like this, it's really cheap. I have seen Suburbans almost identical to this that, you know, may have been wrecked, that you could buy for parts for just a few $100s. You know, I've actually thought about that. If I come across one that's, you know, got enough parts on it that I still want, you know, buying it and parking it up here somewhere and using it as a parts vehicle. So it's something to think about. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that this is all the greatest vehicle, this, you know, Chevy Suburban, but I think it has its potential. Now, there's negatives to it. It is a very big vehicle, so it's not going to be able to get into these woods as easy as, say, a Jeep Cherokee. It uses a lot of gas. It's not fuel efficient, so there's a negative there. But for me, the positives really outweigh the negatives. Another reason that I bought it is my truck looks just like this. My truck is a GMC 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive that's just a couple of years older than this. Virtually the same vehicle, same transmission, except this is the small block and my truck has the big block. So I have two vehicles that if it got really bad, I could probably come up with at least one good vehicle out of the two. And so there's things to think about like that. Does your car that you have now, or your truck, will it work? It might. But if it's a newer vehicle, you're going to run into it not being as rugged. You know, even the SUVs that are made to go off-road, they're made to go off-road once in a while and for a short while. But if you're, number one, if you live out like this, off-roading is a daily thing. You know, driving up and down your driveway and the roads around here, you're doing that all the time. That's off-roading. And then if you're looking at it from a bug-out vehicle, you know, the odds are you're going to be going off-road a lot. And so it's going to be being abused a lot more than a lot of these newer cars are meant to be abused. These older vehicles, they're just bulkier, heavier, have more steel in them. And then when you get into your heavy-duty vehicles like this, they're even more heavy-duty. So I think I'm rambling. I don't know. Basically, the point is you can still get vehicles like this for a reasonable price. And, you know, I paid $750 for it. And I'm not talking about customizing, but I could do some things to kind of spruce it up, you know, maybe, you know, little bit of a lift, a little bit bigger wheels if you wanted to do something like that. You know, if you put $2,000 or $3,000 into the vehicle over the next few years, you've still got a cheap vehicle that's very heavy duty, that'll hold pretty much your whole family and a bunch of gear, because the cargo space in the back's big and you can put a bunch of stuff on top, and then you could also tow with it if you need to. It's capable of a lot. So if you're looking into bug out vehicles, especially if you have several members of your family, I would look into these. Ford has the Expedition, and then they did make the Excursion for a while. There's some positives there, but on these, like I said, you've got easy access, cheap and easy access to parts everywhere, because just the mass production of these vehicles and the fact that the trucks, for the most part, all the parts were pretty much interchangeable. So it's something to think about. And you know, with a vehicle like this, it's not just going to sit around for bug out reasons. It's the vehicle that we would choose if we had to leave. It's the vehicle that will probably be used the most if SHTF, you know, when that happens. But it's also a daily use vehicle, that's its purpose. So, you know, I've got to take that into consideration. I don't plan on making this look like some ridiculous zombie, you know, whatever tank-looking vehicle you might have seen in movies. This is just going to be a daily driver that's eventually going to be equipped with some equipment and things in it. But I just wanted to talk to you guys about it, about what you can get still if you look around. And it took me a while to find this, and you know, word of mouth out here in the country, and I found an old boy out in the woods that had it, and you know, got it off his hands for $750. And I have no doubt that I could, and it's running, it runs really good. I have no doubt that I could, you know, make money off of it tomorrow if I wanted to. Don't go and spend tons and tons of money on a vehicle unless you just have to. You can save money with something like this, and you might say, yeah, well, it's older, it's going to have to be repaired more often. Well, that's true, but the repairs are typically cheaper because of its age. Some of those repairs you could do yourself, and even after that, you're still not spending the money that you would have on a new vehicle. You know, if I went and put a new transmission, new motor in it, and new paint, and new everything, I still wouldn't have what I would have into it if I went and bought a brand new Suburban. So I think in the end you're better off with something like this, my opinion. Anyways, the video's running longer than I expected. Just was showing it off. Maybe I'll make a few more as I, you know, do a few things to it and get the thing set up. But I'm just kind of proud of the fact that I found it for such a good deal and wanted to share it with all of you and give you an idea of what you can still find out there. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.